Hi everyone, and welcome back to Splashpage. I'm Sean, and as always, I'm joined by Andrew. Hey, how's it going, Andrew?
Pretty good. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, and here we are to review episode 4 of Why the Last
Yes.
Man, airing on FX on Hulu, which we told you in the last episode, and we'll tell you in every episode. Just means it's on Hulu. Just go watch it on Hulu.
I mean, if you haven't figured it out by now, what are you watching? Why are
Yeah.
you watching us? Go watch the show and then watch us.
So here we are. The first 3 episodes were all released on the launch date, and this is the first episode we get where we just get one single episode to sit down, watch, and review. And
Yep.
I think the easiest way to go through this episode is discuss both Yorick's and Hero's path throughout the episode. We have Yorick and 355 leaving the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and traveling north to Boston to meet up with the geneticist, Dr. Mann.
Yep.
And then we have Hero and Sam traveling from what we assume is New York, because they started in New York, heading down to D.C. to meet up with Hero's mother, who is now President Brown.
Yes, and it's nice to finally get out of the politics of the first 3 episodes, which were very politics heavy, kind of backstory, how did we get here, how are we going to go forward, and start to get into the travel portion and the actual adventures portion of this adventure story. So that's fun.
Yeah, and absolutely looking forward to the hijinks and the different characters we're gonna meet while on the road. And I think you guys instantly get a sense from this episode that you kind of have this push and pull between different characters that we've seen in a lot of other shows. The Walking Deads, the Sweet Tooths of the world. It's going to get dark. It's going to introduce us to some characters that, put us in bad and strange situations, and we start to feel that in this episode here. So
there are definitely some archetypes there pulled from other media, and it's definitely, I feel like it's a lot darker than the comic books at this point. No?
yeah, I get that same
Yeah.
sense. I get that
We're
same
going
sense.
we're going super dark, super quick.
All right, so let's jump in.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, ending last episode, we had Yorick and 355 leaving Washington, D.C. in a helicopter. But we open this episode with them camping in the wilderness, again, heading from Washington, D.C. up to Boston.
Right.
And,
So they got rid of the helicopter somewhere along the way.
Yep, and are now moving kind of by foot, it would appear.
Yeah.
And even more strange, the opening scene is, I believe that is 355 or maybe 355's mother dancing in a red dress on stage.
Sean, what was going on there? What was
Yeah.
that?
I genuinely have no idea. I
'Cause
can't
they never
begin
explained
to venture
it.
a guess.
Yeah.
No. The stranger thing is when she wakes up, she is sleepwalking and near the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
If I had to take a guess, if I ventured into the maybe this will happen, I'd say that this is going to be somewhat of a reoccurring backstory that will hopefully give us some more information. I don't think this is just like a one-off thing that's going to be shared with us, but I mean, I got no idea.
I guess in past life, before she was a secret agent, she was a song and dance, like burlesque 1930s barroom singer. I don't know what's. So she was having a dream, I guess, or a memory, and you would think a secret agent of her caliber always fully aware of her body and her surroundings, but apparently not when she's asleep sometimes and super, super tired walking through the jungle.
Yeah.
Oh.
The woods had a cliff in it, and apparently she was almost off it. So maybe it's some impending doom. She was wearing red. She's seeing red. I have no idea.
I guess it could be a metaphor. I did read that was her singing and dancing. That was
Okay.
her performance. So that's interesting.
So-
That's cool.
All right. So yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Anyway, we're still walking through the jungle. They were taking apart
keep going
a generator.
jungle, but it's definitely the forest. Not many jungles between DC and Boston, to my knowledge.
You make a valid point, sir. They're walking through the forest on their way to Sherwood to meet Robin Hood. No, she's taking apart the generator to use as trade going on in the future. So we kind of get the sense that the government's falling apart. There's no centralized government. People are just trading odds and ends here and there for goods and services.
Yeah, and this is where I think both you and I started to have a little bit of an issue with some of the writing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the scenes between 355 and Yorick feel really clunky.
Yes.
They just don't have a rapport that makes it feel engaging and fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this is deliberate. 355, I mean, is a trained assassin, a trained secret agent, probably doesn't have that many friends. And Yorick is kind of a spoiled brat who was an escape artist and is put in this outrageous situation. I guess everyone's put in an outrageous situation.
Sure.
But the whole conversation around him taking off his clothes so she could wash them, and it just feels off. And again, I'm hoping that this is deliberate and we're getting a sense of how these two characters don't get along or like each other much in the beginning. Right. And that the chemistry between the two, whether it be the characters or hopefully it's not the actors,
that's what
comes through a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a challenge.
I'm hoping the characters pick up their chemistry, but more so the actors. Because a lot of the times it feels like some of these fights are coming out of nowhere, and it almost feels like they're reading a script instead of being the character at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we'll keep a close eye on that, obviously. There's a reason for the characters to act awkward around each other and to not really get along. So hopefully it's just they're pushing this to the nth degree, and that, as they get closer, as they travel more together, we see and feel that they are more in tuned.
Mm-hmm.
But that was rough. And the thing about it too is with Yorick in the first 3 episodes, who didn't have too much to do with 355.
Right.
Similarly, 355, who didn't have too much to do with Yorick, I didn't really get that feeling that the writing was clunky or off. So again, hopefully this is kind of an isolated incident for explaining that these two characters really don't like each other or don't really see eye to eye on many things.
That is a good point. So hopefully it's just a little bump in the road for this episode.
Right. So we have 355 out washing the clothes, sees a rabbit. She wants to kill the rabbit for food, but then she hears the noise of people going through their stuff.
Yeah, there's some rummagers.
Right, and you could tell that this is not a friendly environment. And actually 355 approaches very calmly, although she is holding the butt of her gun in the back of her pants the entire time. And I got the impression at first that 355 didn't want to kill them, but we know 355 has no qualms with that.
Right.
Based on the last couple episodes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you get that same feeling, or did you get the sense that she's gonna?
I got the feeling that she would have killed them if she had to, but it felt like the confrontation was winding down, and they were about to leave until Yorick came out of nowhere wearing his gas mask and waving a giant stick in his hand.
Right.
It looked like it was tense, but they were about to go, and she would have let him walk off unless they tried to start something.
Yeah, which I assume Yorick did that because his fear was that 355 was going to kill them.
Yes.
So again, it kind of feels a little off. You'd want almost 355 to be a bit more aggressive for Yorick to then take off at them.
Yeah.
Maybe we misread the situation. I had a similar feeling to you, though, Weens, where I was just like, I don't know, it seemed like it was de-escalating a little bit. Although I guess the one woman in the back was kind of like walking toward the other tent, and so maybe that's what kind of sprung Yorick.
And
but
if you want
regardless,
if you want to look into it, he was far off in the distance. He didn't know what was going on. He just saw them talking to each other, and maybe he didn't know if she had it under control or not because he hasn't seen her in action too often yet. So he might have thought this was a good idea. But it also felt aggressive for the character of Yorick, despite the fact that he's done this similar thing in the comic books. In the comics, it always seemed fun and lighthearted almost. And here it seemed like a crazy person with a giant stick.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because you don't get that inner monologue. You don't
Right.
like.
There's a lot of that.
I don't know.
There's a lot of that missing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt
You're
being
right.
so early in the first season. From there, we progress pretty quickly where they go to what appears to be kind of like a rummage sale, which also appeared to be like inside of a professional football stadium or something.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
you do
like
what
the
you got to
flea
do in
market-
the apocalypse.
Yeah, the flea market's going on and people are trading and selling and whatnot. And they make a mention to the fact that either state troopers or some of their wives, I mean, there are certainly plenty of female state troopers, but, you know, they kind of took control of the area, made it safe again. 355 tries to trade that generator for a motorcycle. They didn't see that being one-to-one, so she threw in a little grenade, which made that okay.
Sure.
Apparently grenades are wanted items.
Sure.
So that trade's happening. Yorick does a very Yorick thing and thinks he sees Beth and runs off and gets himself into some trouble.
Yeah.
Where it is, you know, revealed that he is a man to about 6 or 7 state troopers or police or whatever they want to be referred to in this little community. And 355 comes down and shows, you know, 355 is a badass.
She saves
And
the day.
kicks the living hell out of all of those women.
Yeah.
They run away, jump on the motorcycle, and head off, and then have a fight on a bridge, which is like, you know, could you at least like went into the woods, or as you would say, the jungle, to hide a little bit better during the fight? Like, do you have to fight in the middle of the road? What if someone's following you?
Yeah. Well,
But,
turns out Yorick lost his phone, so he probably asked her to stop, and that's why they were fighting.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The one thing I do want to say about this storyline, and really, there's not too much left of it. The crux of the episode, in my opinion, is the Sam and the hero storyline. But I mean, if you were the last man in the world, and the goal of your travels to this point is to not be seen, like, wouldn't you shave your face clean?
Yeah.
Like every day? Like, why does he have scrub?
Unless he ran
It
out
seems
of
like-
razors, or I don't know, but yeah, he's not doing a great job of hiding himself. Yeah, I think that's the end of the storyline, really, outside of that scene where they kind of make up at the end in the middle of the night over a card trick. So, you know, we kind of went from hatred to mutual, I won't say admiration, but they're at least not trying to rip each other's throats out anymore.
Yeah, I guess it ends on a little bit of a smile, and you know,
Yeah.
you get the sense that these guys are traveling companions for a little while. So if you just left them mad at the end of the episode, you know you're going back to them at the next episode. So yeah, put in a nice moment
Yeah.
between the two for sure. So why don't we do this? Why don't we jump? We just were talking about the traveling from DC up to Boston, and now let's go New York down to DC, where Hero and Sam
Yes.
are traveling to meet up with Jennifer Brown, who is the president, but also Hero's mother, that we do know now are hiding or staying in the Pentagon. They did actually say Pentagon, so we were right
Yeah.
last week.
We probably should have known that.
Yeah, we made
already,
the
but
assumption,
Yeah,
but-
we were right. We guessed what they probably
Yeah,
told us.
exactly. Hey, 3 episodes in 1 week is a lot. So we start with Sam and Hero walking and finding a large house to go into and rummage for supplies. Sam is beyond eager to get down to DC
Yes.
and has no interest.
Well, he's got his ticking time bomb. He needs his testosterone.
And Hero, on the other hand, who we know has had issues with her mother in the past. While she appears to appreciate Sam's position and want to help out her friend by taking him down to DC, she does everything in her power to actually stop that from happening. When they find the car that is running, she talks Sam into spending the night at the house because she's exhausted, and even kind of relies on the fact that Sam does feel bad that he is putting her in a situation where she has to face her mother again. When she says, like,
Yeah.
I need some time just to think about this. I thought I'd have more time. What does she do? She goes out. She sabotages the car. Next, putting them back on their feet, they walk to find some more supplies at what appears to be kind of a cleared out pharmacy, CVS type store. And the second they find this injured girl, who turns out to be Mackenzie, Nora's daughter, who hurt herself by falling onto the shovel last episode. Hero does everything she can to kind of, again, slow down their process by taking them back to the house that they had just left and fixing her up there. I'm not blaming Hero for being a good person here.
Yeah.
I hope that Hero is doing this because she genuinely wants to make sure that Mackenzie and Nora are all right, but it does play into her goal.
I think that's a double plan for her. She saw that child there who was hurt, and she can't just leave that child there hurt. But she also could have said, okay, well, you're fine now, and we'll head on our way. Instead, she said, hey, I know this place you could stay. Let's go back there and rest up a little. And you could see Sam's just exasperation. We got to get out of here already. But yeah, you're right. We can't just leave him.
We then have a scene at night when Nora and Hero and Sam are all sitting around talking. And Nora tries to introduce herself, and Hero lies on behalf of both her and Sam. I think the name was Karen and Benji, which Nora goes along with. You have no reason to suspect that Nora knows who this is, except if you paid attention to the first couple episodes. Nora is very familiar with who Jennifer Brown is, and to be honest with you, it didn't click with me at first either. I thought Hero would be able to get away with this no problem, but it does come back.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she knew it at that point, or if she didn't recognize her just then, or if she was pretending, or what was going on. But she did definitely go along with it.
And I guess that's a good point. Maybe she didn't put two and two together at that point. But in the first 3 episodes, thought that Nora was going to turn into a pretty dark character. I still suspect that. However, she seems to be more of a player in the game rather than just a side piece. And I say that because she also understands kind of her role in this new society, where she's saying she's an easy target. She's been jumped already a few times. So she understands what the world's like.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense as a political aide, that she would know the politics of even this new world that just started, and know how to play both sides and figure out where she fits in.
Yeah, and even if she is a little timid in the beginning, and with her daughter especially, you have to understand that she is not just looking out for herself. She has to keep herself in a situation to be able to take care of her daughter. That, she would be a little bit more timid, or whatever word you want to use there. But in reality, I think she fully knows what's going on. And when women show up at the house at the end of the episode, and kind of begin to attack the 4 of them, you also see her kind of negotiate that.
Yeah, she's the one that yells, "She's a doctor," before they shoot anyone in the face. And she remembers that she saw their friend with a gunshot wound and said, "Hey, we could put 2 and 2 together and fix this situation."
Right. So
you don't have to murder us.
So they end up getting taken to the hideout of these women who we don't really get introduced to. However, we suspect that it is a group from the comics called the Daughters of the Amazons. Not 100% sure that is who they are, but that's kind of the inkling we get for a number of reasons. The first one is that group of women hates trans people, and they are very antagonistic toward Sam off the bat.
Yeah. Well, they were very antagonistic to all 4 of them, but especially to Sam.
Right.
Yeah.
They then take them in. Hero does her best to save their friend or fellow Amazon, daughter of Amazon, and the leader of this group comes in, gives Nora a heads up that she's going to put this woman down so that Nora can close her daughter's ears, kills her, and then while the rest of the group wants to basically kill or send Hero and the rest out, she wants them to stay with the group.
Well, you could see that she is definitely in control of this group of these women, because even when she shot their friend who wasn't going to make it, you could see them all turn on her for a quarter of a second before they were put in their place. And the fact that they wanted to kick out Hero and Sam and Nora and Mackenzie. And she said, they just helped us. You brought them here and they did the best they can. She saw that they were doing what they could and said, listen, they're with us now. I did like to see Missy Pyle as Roxanne. Very different character than when I saw her in my favorite movie, Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, that's very true.
But no, she was very good.
We're getting kind of that introduction to, and I hate to keep going back to The Walking Dead. I just get so many Walking Dead vibes from this show. Kind of the introduction to the governor, or another one of those characters that kind of has a little community going, but rules with an iron fist, and things aren't quite right for our new characters that go into this different community. So looking forward to how they flesh this out. I have a feeling that our heroes here, or our main characters here, are not in a safe spot.
Well, also our heroes,
nice.
But also our Sams. Yeah. Yeah, so that's basically the full episode, right? The 2 storylines. We've got 2 travelers on a map. I'm curious to see if and when they meet in between, because we're going...
Yeah.
Right? They do cross paths? DC to Baltimore and New York to
Technically, at
DC.
some point, they will be at the same latitude. Will they be close enough to see each other, hear each other? Who knows? If they were to, that would be very different than the comics. That is not how Hero and Yorick meet. So... I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how Hero becomes the hero we know from the comics, because she's not that person.
Yeah, she's not a good person, but she's much different than she is in the comic. So we'll see how they build her character in the show, and if she ever gets to that level, maybe they just will change her storyline enough that they don't get that she never becomes that person that she is in the comic.
That's a good point. I guess we'll have to wait and see until Monday.
Absolutely. Well, it felt kind of like a setup episode. It certainly is a continued world-building episode, but we are now on the road with our main cast, and very much looking forward to seeing how they build this world and spread it out before we bring it all back together. So let us know what you thought of episode 4 of Why the Last Man. Yep. We're really looking forward to hearing from you guys, because this is a brand new story, brand new show for us. We'd love to talk to you guys about it. So let us know if you have any questions or anything that you want to point out from these episodes that we'll call out in our next episode.
And if anyone's at New York Comic Con this year, I'll be there Friday, Saturday, so come on over, say hi. I'll have some stickers to hand out. So that'll be fun to do.
Well, Weens, I'll catch you on the other side, man. Thanks, everyone. Take it easy, YouTube. Sir.